Hello everybody and welcome to our channel Frugal Queen in France. I'm Jane, the other half of Frugal Queen in France is my husband Mike, who's behind the camera. We're early retirees, debt and mortgage free, British and living here in France, and we live a really thrifty and frugal life. And every Wednesday we open our homes and have a mid-week money chat about you, about how we can stretch the little bit of money that we've got further and further and further. So you must be thinking, what on earth does this woman mean by get ready for rationing? Let me give you the whole big picture here. If you're like us and you're living on a pension, you're living on a fixed income, maybe you're a family, you've already got 2 or 3 jobs, you're earning as much money as you possibly can. Maybe you're a middle income earner, you're already earning as much as you possibly can. Your council tax has gone up, your national insurance has gone up. In America, your property taxes have gone up, the price of food has gone up, the price of fuel for your car has gone up, the price of energy for your home has gone up, and your income has not gone up. That means you have to make the money that you've got perform miracles. You've literally got to do bread and fishes with your money, haven't you? You've got to spread it 1,000 or so ways, and you've got no more money. And that's exactly what rationing is. Rationing is when you take the smallest amount of absolutely everything and you spread it as far as you possibly can. So whether rationing is imposed upon you by income, whether rationing is imposed upon you by shortages, and let's face it, there are shortages, one way or another, you, me, and everybody else has to prepare for rationing. Today I've got 5 ways about preparing for rationing, and stay right to the 5th one because that's the big one. So here in France, the inflation rate is running around 5%. Now, I don't know how on earth they're measuring that, because I'm not seeing 5% increases. I've had more than 5% increase on my fuel for my car, and anybody out there in France who's bought gas for their house to fill their gas tank, or oil for their house to heat their house, or buying food or materials or DIY materials or clothes, and especially food, we're seeing way higher increases than that. I'm seeing between 20 and 50% increases in the price of some foods. We're seeing 20 to 50 to 100% increase in the price of DIY and building materials. I'm seeing on average between 10 and 20, up to 25% increase in some clothing, as an example. So there is where I am coming from. I can only speak personally. People in the UK are seeing incredible, I mean outrageously high increases in the price of energy for their homes. They're seeing increases in taxation and lots of other things. And we do know Americans are seeing increases in their property taxes, just as an example. So yes, we know the rate of inflation, like here, is 5%, but that's based on a lot of complicated maths. What I'm talking about today is the actual money I've got in my handbag, that I've got in my purse, to go out and buy what I need for Mike and I, which is our family, my dogs, my family, and I'm sure that you'll see that too, the spending power that you've got for your family. So let's get right into this. My first of 5 points, and I don't think anybody's going to like any of these, I'll be honest with you, I'm not keen on them myself. And the first thing that we are all going to have to do, that we're all going to have to change, I'm going to have to change, maybe you will have to change, is we're going to have to stop being fussy. How many people love a brand? How many people like a certain supermarket? How many people like a certain type of cheese, type of apple, all of those things? First of all, the things that you like just might not be in the shops. They're just not there. They are just not there. We here in France are suffering from shortages of cooking oil, mustard. That's just the first two. The third one, I beg your pardon, is flour for cooking. So anything like that, and more shortages will come. We know this is going to happen. Anything that puts up oil prices and feed prices for farmers is going to have an impact on all of us. So then my first piece of advice, and I'm taking it myself, whether I like it or not, is to stop being fussy. And here's a great example of rationing. You can't have what you want all of the time. You can't have those choices because you're standing there and that amount of money in your hand hasn't changed. You're going to have to find the cheaper brands. You're going to have to go to the cheapest supermarkets. You're going to have to just not set foot in certain shops. You may not have the money to bulk buy. You're going to have to make certain choices. And I promise you, I don't like them. And I don't think you are going to like them either. So stop being fussy. If you've got tea, if you've got coffee, if you've got any type of bread, if you've got any type of oil, just that's it. That's it, isn't it? There isn't anything different. And the examples that I can take from rationing, and we all know those parts from history, nobody fussed then. They didn't fuss. You had what you had. There was no choice, and we are facing that now. And people of my age really haven't experienced this. You've got to be a lot older than us. I'm 56, and you've got to be a lot older than me to have faced that going into a store and that brand of coffee or that brand of oil or that brand of flour is it. That is it. So the first part of all of this is just stop being fussy. Be grateful for what there is and all you can afford. If that's all you can afford, no, we're not going to like it, are we? But stop being fussy. My second point is, and this is going to be even more unpopular than point number one, is I don't care if you don't like it. Now I'm speaking here as the wife, as the mother, as all of those people, and you might be like that too, because I'm in charge of what gets put on this table. I'm in charge of that food budget. I'm in charge of the cooking. I'm in charge of the menu planning. And I'm in charge of making this amount of money, make that amount of food. So I don't care if you don't like it. That's what we can afford for breakfast. We can afford porridge, we can afford a big spoon of jam on it, we can afford toast and marmalade, and I actually don't care if you don't like it. Because that's what's in the budget and that's what you're going to have. That's what there is. Lunchtime, you're going to have a big sandwich, a piece of cheese in it, you're going to have an apple. And again, I don't care if you don't like it. That is what there is. For dinner tonight, there's going to be some stew. If you hunt enough, move your fork around, you might be lucky and find the meat that's flavour in it. And it's going to have a ton of vegetables in it, and it might have dumplings with it too. And there'll be mashed potatoes with it. And I don't care if you don't like it. And those are the messages that people who've lived under rationing had to face. Those are the messages that people are having to face every single day with the food choices that they're making. I am up to here with the food perfectionists. I am up to here with the food snobs. And I am up to here with the food fussy people. Because most people out there who are going to make difficult choices aren't going to eat what they like. They aren't going to eat it, are they? They are going to be out there and making different choices. I've noticed in the French supermarket, proper good old-fashioned things on the shelves there. There's more offal, there's more organ meat, there's more cheap meats. There's more of the stuff there, but people would stick their noses in the air at. I put something on Facebook the other day on a food group, and somebody said, "Oh, cheap ham." Well, if you're not paying for it and putting it on my table, I don't care for your snobbery, thank you very much. So when it comes to everything else, and I'm speaking here as a mother, because I've had to make these difficult choices in the past, and I know mothers watching this now are going to be making these difficult choices in the future. I don't care if you don't like it. I don't care if you're looking at what I eat and thinking, ooh, it's not good enough. Ooh, it doesn't come from a farmer's market. Ooh, it's mass manufactured food. Let's face it, a factory is basically a big kitchen. So I don't care if you don't like it. You aren't paying for it. You're not putting food on my table. You're not paying my bills. We'll eat what we can afford. Thank you very much. And I don't care if you don't like it. My next point is this one, and they are lying to us. If you've watched my channel for a while now, you know this is kind of something that I pick up on every now and then. That this is what retailers and industry do all of the time. It's nothing new. They have done this since advertising began. They spend a lot of time advertising to you stuff that you don't need, and they're advertising to you a lot of the time stuff that they want to sell more of to you. And the biggest lie we know is on the shampoo bottle, isn't it? And it says rinse and repeat. Well, in the main, if your hair is really greasy, really dirty, you've been down a coal mine, you've been delivering cows and calves and you're a vet, you might be really scummy dirty and you might need to give yourself 2 soapings all over. In the main, you don't. Look at the advertisements for shower gel. They're pouring it on and pouring it on and pouring it on. You really don't need to. And this is the point of rationing, where you will make absolutely everything that you've got stretch further. It's just think in your head all of the time, they're lying to me. I don't need that much laundry liquid. I don't need that much shower gel. I just don't need that much. Recipes, look at recipes. I found a recipe the other day and it asked for 1 kilo of something, which is about two and a bit pounds of. I made it with less than half that. I made it with, was it, 1 pound of beef, and it was just as fine. Just think to yourself all of the time, do I actually need this much? Because in the main, think to yourself, why are they saying that much? Why are they saying use 2 capfuls of laundry liquid? Why are they saying add 2 of this or 3 of that when 1 would do? And that is rationing, isn't it? If you're looking at it and going, I don't need to use or spend that much, that is rationing. It's from the self, it's making what you've got affordable. But think to yourself and think this and be really aware of this. Advertisers are lying to you. Most of the time you don't need it. Most of the time you don't need that much. My next section I've entitled Need, Not Greed. I don't like this section, you won't like this section either. I am by nature a greedy person. My mother always said to me that I had eyes bigger than my belly. And I've all my life thought, oh, I'm really hungry. Oh, I could eat loads and loads and loads. And as I've got older, I've put less and less on my plate because I realise the reality is I can't actually eat that much. Now, it's not the case in France to go to a restaurant and come away with a doggy bag or a box full of leftovers, because portion sizes here are really quite small. And when we've seen French people eating, I often think to myself, how do they eat 3 courses? It's because the 3 courses are relatively small. And it's something that we really learned here. And gluttony and greediness here in France is really frowned upon. It's considered bad manners. But being a British person, you know, being a good eater or being a hearty eater was part of my upbringing. And I know it's very much being part of an American upbringing, an Australian upbringing, to be a good eater and have plenty of food on the table. And as a British mother, I used to like to put plenty of food on the table, give people platefuls of good food. But actually, when it comes to rationing, actually when it comes to stretching the amount of money that we've got, this amount of money, this far, we actually have to get into the need, not greed, and not be greedy. We don't need snacks. There's this current trendy phrase, isn't it? It's called intermittent fasting. Do you know what it was called in my house growing up? You're not getting any food in between meals. You've had your breakfast, you can wait till lunchtime. You've had your lunch, you can wait till dinner time. There's nothing in between. You've eaten enough, thank you very much. And I think we really need to return to that of need, not greed. We don't need to sit down in the evening and start eating again. You've eaten your dinner. You don't need to eat anything else until you break your fast tomorrow morning. You don't need to. Yeah, you want to. Yes, you like salty snacks or sweet snacks or cakey bits or treats or something nice to go with a glass of wine. Of course you do. I do, you do, we all do. But when it comes to rationing, when it comes to those stark, really difficult decisions we're all having to make, it's all about need, not greed. We do need. Some of you only eat 2 meals a day. I personally only eat 2 meals a day. I don't like breakfast. Can't get it down me at all. Maybe in the depths of winter, I might like a bit of porridge or something, but when it comes to summertime, I really don't want breakfast. So for me, it's 2 meals a day. Yours might be 3 meals a day, but we definitely don't need any snacks. And I know people are going to go on about, oh, growing kids, they do need snacks. In your modern world, they might do, but in a huge amount of cultures and traditions, they don't. And I know that parents are going to be faced with school holidays. And I was on a Mumsnet forum the other day looking at parents going, how do you fill these kids up with hollow legs? And there were 2 camps. One was basically saying, oh, this is a cheap way of doing it and feeding them, like they're grazing cows all day long, nibble, 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 nibble. And there was the other school of thought, which basically said, no, when they go to school, they can't sit there in lessons and eat all day. They have their breakfast and then they eat their lunch and then they come home and they eat their dinner. And there's nothing in between. So that's rationing, isn't it? When you're having to say to yourself, to your family, or even your kids, no, you have your breakfast, you have your lunch, and you have your evening meal. And you don't have anything in between. You aren't going to drop down dead of starvation between lunch and the evening meal. It's physically impossible to do that. You don't drop down dead of starvation when you go from your evening meal all night long. You don't wake up in the middle of the night, do you? And think, oh, I've got to feed the kids now. It's 2 a.m. They need a snack. You don't need to. So I'm really going to emphasise this. It's about need, not greed. And I'm speaking to myself here as somebody who's had to adjust the amount of food I put on my plate, because I am by nature a greedy person. I like to have plenty. But if we're going to have to ration, if we are going to have to make that money go a long way, we have to remember there's food we need and not to be greedy. Now, I told you I would save the one that's going to help everybody, help me, help you, help everybody who needs to ration, everybody who needs to make that little bit of money go much, much further. And I do like an acronym, and the acronym is MILL, M-I-L-L, and it simply stands for Make It Last Longer. We all do this as mothers, don't we? We've all done this as householders, as people who've got a household budget. Whatever it is, we make it last longer. Now, our hot water heats in a tank overnight on cheap rate. We need to make that hot water last all day. That's just an example. So we don't leave the hot tap running. That's just an example. When it comes to laundry liquid, if it says to be use 150 mils, I'm not falling for that old nonsense. I'm putting in half of that. I'm literally putting in a squirt of laundry liquid or a squirt of white vinegar. I'm using absolutely less of absolutely everything, from shower gel to the things like bars of soap that we use here. I collect all the little bits of bars of soap, and when I've got several little bits of bars of soap, I literally soak it in warm water for a bit, and then I literally squidge it together with my hands to make another whole bar of soap. Absolutely everything, I make it last longer. From the shoes that I wear, to my underwear, to my clothes, to everything. Absolutely anything, from old towels that I cut up into cleaning cloths, to old clothes that I cut up and I make into quilts. I make things last longer by making your stuff last longer, by buying it secondhand and bringing it home. So whatever you have to do to make it last longer, you're rationing. You're making everything stretch further. Absolutely all of us who've been young and skinny have made 2 cups of tea with 1 tea bag. We've all done it, and don't say you haven't done it, because if you've been young and skinny, you've done it. We've all made the milk last longer. How many of us with growing kids have taken that semi-skim milk and thought, oh, I haven't got enough milk for their breakfast tomorrow. We've watered it down. We've all done it. And these are the times again when we take those skills, is it a skill? I don't know, a survival skill even. But we take those, and whatever it is, when it comes to things like ketchup, brown sauce. Brown sauce is a spicy brown sauce made of dates and spices that British people put in their food. It's very much the flavour of Worcester sauce, but it's a sauce and we use it. I think Australian people use it too, brown sauce. But all of us do it, don't we? We take the ketchup and all of those things, we water it down. We stick it in bolognese, we stick it in a sauce. We waste nothing. We bang out the flour packet. We literally use the butter wrapper to grease a baking tin. Whatever it is, make it last longer. So who would have thought it? Who would have thought at 57 years old, at 2022, that I would live through times of self-imposed rationing? Is it self-imposed? Am I choosing this? Are people choosing this? I don't think they are at all. I think people are facing this, and you can call it what you like, but it is rationing. If you are having to take what you've got and stretch it and make it go further, and there isn't very much, you are living through times of rationing. Difficult for all of us. Not a conversation that any of us wanted to have, not a chat I wanted to have with any of you. If this is something that you're facing yourself, if this is decisions that you're having to make this yourself, share it with us. This is a safe place. It's okay. Have a moan about it. I don't mind, moan about it all you like. I know lots and lots of people are having to make very, very difficult decisions to fill their car up with fuel to get to work, to earn the same money and take home less, because you are experiencing what we are experiencing all over the world. We are experiencing times of rationing. Thank you so very much for watching. If you would please, could you like the video? It helps us with the algorithm. Thank you to everybody who watches and lets the advertisements roll, because that's how we YouTubers get paid. On behalf of Mike and I, thanks very much again. We'll see you again soon. Goodbye for now.